Hi, I'm Dr. Robert Cohen. Today I'm going to talk to you about how you can improve your SAT and ACT reading scores by simply reading. By reading material apart from what you read on the test. Now, for the SAT and ACT, the first thing you want to do to prepare is take timed official practice tests, review your mistakes. If you're studying for the SAT, study vocabulary, and also learn some test-specific strategies for each test that can help you. That said, it's really valuable to still read outside of the test, to read novels, to read news articles. I'm going to tell you where you can find some really good articles to read. You want to use these articles to practice becoming a better reader. So it's not enough just to read to read. You have to practice the active reading strategies that you need to use on the SAT and ACT. You have to practice those strategies on these, on whatever you're reading. Another major way this is going to help you is it's going to acquaint you with a lot of different topics, and it's important to read widely across topics. So here's the reason. If you look at passages on the SAT or ACT, they talk about everything under the sun. They talk about astronomy, they talk about choreography, they talk about urban planning. So, often these are things you won't have exposure to from school unless you're really reading widely across a number of high-level texts. So by reading a good bit and by reading broadly, you're going to start to pick up all this knowledge that will then help you on the test. Because if you go into, you've probably experienced this, if you try an SAT or ACT passage about something where you already know about it, you already have some background, maybe it's about US history and you studied that topic in class, it's much easier, it's so much easier to work through the passage because you know the context. You might even know some of the answers before you've read the passage. Okay, and what happens as if you start to read outside the test and outside of school, and you start to read broadly, you're going to pick up a lot of information that is then going to provide that sort of background for the test for a number of the test passages. You want to find reading material that looks like the reading material on the SAT and ACT. So some difficult vocabulary, some complex ideas, some nuanced writing. For nonfiction, check out the New York Times, the New Yorker, Wall Street Journal, The Economist, New York Review of Books. By the way, you don't have to subscribe to these things. They're all online, and they all have some free articles you can read online. Opinion pieces are really helpful. Go to the New York Times, Wall Street Journal, any major newspaper, and look for the opinion section, also called the editorial or op-ed section. Because SAT and ACT passages often present an author's strong opinion. So it's really good practice to work with opinion pieces. If you're like myself and you like sports, there's some really good journalism about sports. You can find it in a lot of places. One, New York Magazine actually often has one article per issue about sports, and it's very high quality writing of the kind you would find on the SAT. Definitely read science passages. The SAT and ACT they always have a science passage, so it's good practice. And the passages often talk about topics that you don't learn in high school. They're not from physics or chemistry or biology. They're about astronomy. They're about epidemiology. They're about neuroscience. So I think the best thing to read is Scientific American. Again, you can get free articles online. It's a great science magazine, and in fact, in one of their articles has shown up on the SAT before in one of the new redesigned SAT practice tests. And as you read more science articles, again, you're going to learn about these different topics that might be discussed on the test, and you'll improve your comfort with, technical scientific passages, and your own scientific literacy, which is great. Fiction is also great practice because there's always going to be a fiction passage on the SAT and ACT. Look for good literary works, novels. Maybe ask your English teacher for some good recommendations. Tell her, the types of things you like and you're interested in. And if you're taking the SAT, try to at least read one 19th century British novel. They like passages from 19th century British novels, and the language can take some getting used to. If you're studying for the ACT, try and read something that's a memoir, or like a memoir, because the fiction passage is often very memoir-esque on the ACT. Here's what you need to do as you read. The first thing, if you see a vocab word you don't know, look it up. You can do this super quickly online. Don't worry about like a paper dictionary. And you should do this for the ACT as well. I know the ACT doesn't explicitly test vocabulary like the SAT does, but the ACT does have some tough vocabulary in the passages. So if you want to really be able to understand the passages, knowing that vocab is going to help. And then again, practice active reading just like you would on the test. And I encourage you to check out my video about how to read passages on the SAT and ACT. It's all about active reading. You can also check out the blog article with the same title on my blog. So, take the time to work through. If there's a really tough part of the text that you don't understand when you read it, take the time to slowly work through it and see if you can parse it and figure out what it means and put it into context. And ask yourself these questions just like you would on the SAT or ACT. Okay, what's the main point? What's the main point of every article you read? When is the author stating her own opinion, and when are they just telling you information or someone else's opinion? What's the author's tone? How are they writing? What stylistic choices do they make? Why? How do those choices, or how does that style reflect what they're saying or what they're trying to get across? Why did the author choose to write this? What are they, trying to tell you or do with this article? And then how is the passage organized? What are the major sections? How are they different from one another? How do they all fit together? So as you can see, reading a lot of good articles and fiction can really help you to, give you the opportunity to practice active reading. And the more you do, the better and better you're going to get at it, the better your SAT and ACT scores are going to get. If you found this video helpful, please like it, share it, or subscribe to the channel. That'll help me reach more people who this type of information might help. Thanks.